Checker looked at her chessboard, which had Trixie's king nearly in checkmate.
Time for me to make my coup de grace,
She said, her face becoming unhinged as she smirked.
helping her.
She asked, looking back, her voice monotone. Helping Hope slowly approached.
Yes, Miss Monarch?
You are the bait.
Checker replied, looking Helping Hoof over with demented eyes, like a predator looking at its prey.
It's all you're good for, after all.
Helping Hoof looked crushed at that.
Is that a problem, you worthless
No, Miss Monarch. I'll do it. So you left home to escape Checker?
Asked Twilight, looking concerned after the rest of the group left. It was now after dark. Trixie nodded sadly. Even she counted the bits she'd been paid by... Even as she counted the bits that she'd been paid by the cakes.
Yes, she felt like she was just Checker's toy, her puppet. Every good thing that ever happened in her life, Checker found a way to twist it into something awful. Trixie finally realized she could only be her own mare by leaving home. So she did. Becoming a traveling show pony just came naturally.
Twilight nodded slowly, sitting down next to her. Pinkie, who was cleaning tables, came over and hugged Trixie when she heard that, giving her a sympathetic smile that Trixie returned, then went back to her work.
It must have been painful to finally go home and have them treat you that way.
Trixie nodded, a tear going down her cheek.
Trixie used to be terrified of Checker. She still is scared of her, but has grown up a bit. Trixie thinks... Sorry, Trixie's not good at this. Trixie, I think you have been more of a sister to me than Checker ever has.
Twilight gave her a smile.
I'm glad I could be there for you. And I understand how you feel. I may have had an awesome big brother, but I've always wanted a sister my age.
Trixie gave a smile back, then yawned.
This day has been rather exhausting. Trixie thinks she'll go back to bed. Go to bed, if that's all right.
Twilight nodded, giving a smile.
All right. Me and Spike will be there in a bit. We're going to help Pinkie close up.
Trixie trotted home, an umbrella held overhead with telekinesis as it rained, but it was presently a soft drizzle. She still was uncertain about how she felt. Seeing her sister had been a shock and unpleasant one, though. Seeing Helping Hoof had been a pleasant surprise. Maybe if he was staying in Ponyville a little bit, they could be the friends they should have been when they were foals.
Trixie?
Called a voice. Trixie blinked, looking over and seeing Helping Hoof standing on a tree with an umbrella of his own.
Oh, hello, Helping Hoof.
She called. She trotted over.
What are you doing out here?
Helping Hoof looked nervous, a bit on edge, but gave a smile.
Oh, I'm just on break. Decided to look around. Didn't expect to run into you.
Trixie smiled back.
Well, it's good to run into you, Helping Hoof. Look, Trixie is sorry she was so distant to you as a foal. She wishes she had. Maybe we could have been friends.
Helping Hoof looked away to hide his face. It hurt to hear that.
Oh, that's fine.
He said, looking back at her.
Water under the bridge.
So, you're Checker's personal assistant?
Asked Trixie, curiously, after playing catch-up for about 10 minutes, though most of it had been Trixie's adventures at Helping Hoof's instance. Still, it felt good. even if helping Hooves seemed preoccupied.
Personal assistant isn't quite the word, but yes.
Said helping Hoof. He then looked over and saw Checkers standing in the rain nearby with a deranged smirk. Helping Hoof sighed sadly, looking down at the ground.
Trixie,
Yes, helping her?
I'm sorry.
What?
Asked Trixie before the diamond dog's arm burst out of the ground and grabbed her legs, covering her mouth before she could scream. Helping Hoof just stared at the ground, looking defeated.
Hey, Twilight.
Called Rainbow Dash, entering Sugar Cube Corner, walking over at Twilight cleaned a table. Spike helping Pinky wash dishes in the other room.
Yes, Rainbow Dash?
Twilight asked, looking back at her.
I have something here. Can you tell me what you think?
Rainbow Dash asked, taking out the metal piece she found in the hole and put it down on the table. Twilight picked it up with telekinesis and looked it over. She produced glasses and put them on, then scanned the object with a spell as she examined it.
I think it's a magic lightning rod.
She explained, looking it over.
It's a piece of metal with a special spell put on it that attracts lightning when its magic is triggered by being embedded into something, like the ground or a roof. One is protecting the library. You can buy full-sized ones from a pony in Canterlot, I know. Though one like this would have melted by the time the storm is over. It's not durable enough to survive lightning strikes for long periods.
Rainbow Dash looked dead serious.
I found that in this crater that lightning that almost hit me caused.
Twilight gasped, looking at it.
What? You don't think?
Someone put it there on purpose?
Asked Rainbow Dash. She knew the idea wasn't likely the idea of some pony trying to intentionally hit another with lightning of the dangerous type was unheard of, but sometimes it paid to be careful.
I'm not paranoid, but it doesn't make sense for it to be in the middle of the road like that. I'm not saying someone was trying to get me struck by lightning, but I think there is something fishy going on around here.
Twilight looked back at it, nodding slowly, feeling a chill down her spine.
Yeah.
Trixie was thrown to the ground rather hard. She feared she may have bruised a rib.
What happened?
She asked, shaking her head and getting up with a groan. She looked around the rocky cave, a glowing gem in the rock ceiling lighting this section of the cave up. She could tell she was underground, but not where.
Hello?
She asked, trembling slightly from fear.
Has Trixie been kidnapped by crazed fan cults again? Hello, Trixie.
Said a voice.
Glad you can make it.
Checkers stepped out of the darkness, still looking perfectly normal.
I told my employees to pick you up, but I suppose to a diamond dog that means kidnap you. My sincere apologies, little sister.
Trixie growled, horn glowing, as she snorted air through her nostrils.
Partner, what's going on?
Checkers sighed, shaking her head.
I'm very sorry for the inconvenience, but this was the only way I could get you to come talk to me. You seemed so angry.
She said, acting genuinely hurt. Trixie snarled.
About what?
She said, not taking her guard down. She didn't fall for it. She knew Checkers' tricks.
Oh, just a little proposal I had.
Said Checker, floating over a scale model of Ponyville, but now it included a large mall on its outskirts. Trixie didn't particularly recognize the location of the large building, but something about it seemed familiar.
This is the Ponyville Mall, my newest project. Ponyville is the shadow of Canterlot, and a lot closer to the nearest mall in Manhattan, making it a perfect place for such a project. It will bring a massive amount of business to Ponyville, as well as perhaps change the perspective of some of the elite about this town. And earn you a lot of money.
Asked Trixie, glaring as she looked at the model. What was her sister's game? Sure, money. Checker loved money. But that couldn't be the only thing,
Yes, that is naturally the most important part.
said Checker, giving a cold chuckle.
But you see, there's a small problem. Several, actually.
Trixie narrowed her eyes.
And what are they?
A chill went down her spine.
Well, that is where it applies to you, dear sister.
Said Checker, before her face and voice suddenly got completely emotionless.
There is a matter of competition in the area.
Trixie's eyes widened, and she took a trot back at the sudden change in her sister. She'd seen Checker without the mask of pleasantries she wore in public, but this was different.
Competition? Over here, we have Sweet Apple Acres.
Stated Checker, looking at the model of the farm.
Largest supplier of apples in Equestria, and regular seller of apple-based food in Ponyville. Cannot have them taking money from my grocery stores, so it has to go.
She stated, picking up that section of the map and shattering it to bits without a second thought. Trixie's face fell in horror as she watched her friend's farm be crushed.
And Sugarcube Corner, local restaurants.
Checker continued, giving a small, unhinged smirk.
My mall will have tons of restaurants and a food court. I cannot have rivals in the area, now can I?
She asked, ripping the model Sugar Cube Corner out and throwing it to the ground with enough force to smash it to bits. Her hair began to be messed up.
Library. The mall has plenty of bookstores. Why would ponies pay money when they can check out the same book for free? That has to go.
The library was thrown to the ground and crushed under Checker's hoof.
Fluttershy's cabin. We have pet stores. Can't have somebody just outside of Ponyville giving pets away. Little weaklings gotta go too.
And Fluttershy's cabin was sent sailing across the room and smashed to bits against the wall.
Carousel Boutique. Can't have a dress shop owned by a generous pony when we'll be selling all the clothing ponies could want. By Rarity. Never liked your designs anyway.
The Rarity's boutique was hurled inches from Trixie's head and smashed against the wall behind her. Sorry. Trixie staggered back, tears streaming down her face as she realized what she was really seeing.
No, please, no. And Rainbow Dash's Cloud Castle.
Asked Checker, snapping to look at Trixie, her sunglasses flying off to reveal her completely deranged eyes, beneath a completely demented smirk plain to see, ruined mane in her face. She then gave a dark chuckle.
I shall think of something.
She said, returning to her uniform tone, as Rainbow Dash's house particularly imploded in her telekinesis grasp.
It will all be simple. Sure, most of it will be underhoofed, but that's a dog-eat-dog world.
Trixie staggered up against the wall, staring at her sister with terrified eyes.
And that's only the start of things.
Checker stated, walking around Trixie at a distance like a predator stalking prey.
Trixie, do you remember the accident Rainbow Dash had today?
Trixie gasped, remembering how close Rainbow Dash had come to being struck by lightning. She looked up at her sibling in shock.
You did that?
Checker gave a slow chuckle.
It was simple. Only took me 2 seconds to arrange the right item. And I can hurt any of your friends just as easily anytime I want to. But she might not be there to save them next time, especially once they have lost their homes.
Trixie snarled in fury and leapt at her sister in rage, only to find herself grabbed by her sister's telekinesis, being painfully forced down to the ground, resisting as much as possible. Checker gave an animalistic snarl at her sister's resistance, and her horn glowed brighter as she forced Trixie to bow down before her with her telekinesis, but clearly struggled to do so.
Rover, Fido, Spot, hold her down.
The demon dogs rushed in and held the mare down. Receiving a bag of gems in return, Checker staggered back, sorry, panting and holding a hoof to her head. She then looked back to Trixie with a sinister chuckle.
That's better.
Checker spat, a slight bit of venom in her tone. Trixie struggled heavily, looking up at her sister with furious eyes. She tried to use her telekinesis and throw the demon dogs away, but Checker simply overpowered her with her own telekinesis.
Why did you?
Checker staggered a bit, once more holding her head and panting this time.
No, do not interrupt while Big Sister is speaking.
Checker continued with no emotion at all as she glared into Trixie's eyes, causing her sister to begin sweating and trembling in fear at her gaze. She finally looked away after about 5 minutes of letting her sister sweat, allowing Trixie to catch her breath.
Here's my proposal. You this way again. Spend the rest of your life living off scraps in the middle of nowhere. I do not ruin your friends.
She stated,
My little
You're
scheme while I play
roboting
the
pretty
poor.
hard. I can't understand half what you're saying.
Or option B, you tell the royal guard about my little scheme while I play the poor little wounded gazelle, and I see the cutie mark off of you and anyone else who supports you for libel. Sure, your friends have connections, but without evidence, they can't help you one bit. And you know, if you tell the authorities, your friends will support you and play right into my hooves. I did it all the time when we were fools, Trixie. I can do it again. How does that sound?
Trixie was sunk to the ground, seizing resistance of the demon dogs. It was true. Checker knew how to cause trouble and make herself appear the victim. It was a favorite trick of hers as a fool, and she had lawyers that came with being a owner of a company.
No.
She said, trying to find any way out. Anyway, but nothing came. Everything was hitting her so fast she couldn't think.
And then there's the last option, little sister.
Checker said, getting in Trixie's face with a maniacal smirk on her own.
You continue being the hard worker, getting bits. Then when I destroy their homes, their lives, you cut town and start again somewhere else. Abandon your so-called friends to rot. Sure, they'll lose everything, but you can have whatever life you want. Isn't that what you wanted? Survival of the fittest, right?
Trixie glared at her sister suddenly.
That's a choice you would take, right, checkmate?
Checker smirked dementedly.
As a matter of fact, I would strongly recommend that option.
Trixie looked down in disbelief and despair. What options did she have? What could she do? What could she do? She tried to think, but nothing came. No matter what she tried to think of, she couldn't come up with a way out. If she tried to tell anyone, Checker would just make her and her friends pay for it. She did nothing, her friends would pay the price, and she'd become no different than Checker. What else could she do? Wasn't there a better option? She felt helpless. Checkers circled Trixie like a shark.
You see, Trixie, there's the problem with being nice. Nice ponies give a flying feather about what happens to someone else. A problem I don't have. That's why I'll always win.
Checker screamed, voice alternating once more, uh, and she licked circled Trixie like a shark who smelled blood in the water.
So what will it be? Betray those you love the most? Ruin your lives and theirs? Or be the sweet little mare who sacrifices everything from some pony else? Your choice, sister.
Trixie looked up at her sister, finally making the only choice she dared to make, the only right choice to make.
Don't hurt them. Take me away from here. Take everything I have. Just don't hurt my friends.
She muttered, doing her best not to cry, not to let her sister see her cry and give her the satisfaction of that. Checker gave a deranged laugh. She floated a quill and scroll over to Trixie.
Write them a note saying you took my gracious offer and are leaving town.
Trixie looked up with a snarl and took the quill in her telekinesis.
Dear friends, Trixie has reconsidered her sister's gracious offer. Unfortunately, she has to leave tonight. The job offer is limited. Trixie is sorry she can't say farewell in person. Trixie can't thank you enough for all you've done for her. She'll write you again someday. Thank you. Goodbye, Trixie Lulamoon Midsummer.
Trixie glared at her sister.
There.
Damn, that really sounded like a robot. She said, rolling up what bits she had on the hoof in it.
They won't believe Trixie's just up and left without repaying them.
Trigger handed the message over to Rover to take to the library.
No, sister, come, you have got a chariot to catch.
Trixie was grabbed by Spot and Fido, but didn't resist one bit. As she was led off, Checker following her, Trixie looked to Helping Hoof, who couldn't bear to look at her.
You too, Helping Hoof?
She asked, sorrow having in her voice, as she looked at him, betrayal playing on her face, as he did his best to avoid her gaze. Trixie was thrown face first into a mud puddle by Fido. Checker looked down at her.
Here we are.
It roboted.
Here we are, Trixie, your new home. I hope you enjoy it.
She said, ignoring the pouring rain. Trixie looked around. It was hard to tell at night under the rain. But it looked like a desert. Nothing in sight but sand and cacti.
I will.
She said, she replied definitely, not wanting to give her demented sister any satisfaction whatsoever. Checker narrowed her eyes.
I believe that she'll be the last time we see each other. Little sister.
She spat coldly, slowly turning and walking away, giving a quick smirk as she did. Helping Hoof looked down at Trixie with shame on his face.
Trixie,
Trixie looked up at him, hurt clear in her face.
Helping Hoof. From Checker, but from you? Why?
She pleaded, betrayal in her eyes.
We may not have been friends, but I thought maybe we could be.
Helping Hoof cringed, she slowly turned and showed his cutie mark.
Miss Cutie. Oh, sorry. Wrong one.
this cutie mark.
He muttered, then tore it off, revealing it to be nothing more than a sticker covering blank fur.
Is fake. I never earned my cutie mark.
He said, shame clear in his eyes as Trixie gave a gasp.
I My father was so ashamed of me, called me worthless, made me feel worthless. Then Checker, she said she could help me. She bought me these fake cutie marks and gave me a job. It helped convince every pony I'd earned both. Helped me make my father proud, but let's face it, he was right. What worth does a full-grown stallion without a cutie mark have? No one else would hire me. And if I betray her, she'll ruin me.
Trixie looked up at him with a serious look.
And that makes it right to help her ruin others?
Helping Hoof snapped around.
What choice do I have? What good would it do? You see what Checker is capable of? I can't do anything to stop her. So why should I ruin myself when it won't do any pony any good? At least this way my father is proud of me.
Trixie growled.
If that's all that matters to you, then maybe Checkers was right. Maybe you are weak.
She said, genuine hurt in her voice. Helping Hoof lowered his head in shame, looking like a broken stallion.
Goodbye, Trixie. I've made the deal with the Draconicus. Now I have to pay the price. I don't deserve anything else but what Checker puts me through. I'm so sorry.
Helping Hoof slowly walked away, leaving Trixie alone in the rain as she watched him in a mix of betrayal and pity. Trixie watched the chariot fly away into the storm, and finally broke down, crying when she was sure her sister couldn't see. Checker fixed her hair and opened her chessboard.
Well, that was a successful venture.
She said.
Now I can concentrate on the mall.
Helping Hoof looked up from applying a new sticker.
What? You're still going through with it?
He asked, shock in his face.
Of course, why not? I've already set everything up.
Checker replied coldly looking at him out of the corner of her eye.
But you told Trixie.
I told Trixie I would not ruin her friends if she did this, and I will not. But I was not lying about them being in the way. It is just good business to crush the competition, even if you have to be underhoofed to do so. After that, what they do is their own business.
Checker replied in a cold, emotionless, logical tone. She glared into his eyes, making him shrink back.
Is that a problem, you worthless blank flank?
Helping Hoof could tell from the look in her eyes. Business was half of it. He could tell it was spite. Spite that they'd help her sister when she didn't want them to. Spite that they dared defy her. And maybe spite to Trixie too, for not following the ideas Checker had forced into her mind. He trembled at her gaze.
No, Miss Monarch.
Checker smirked, turning back to the chessboard. To her chessboard.
Now I've won. Trixie's been undone. Reduced to a sorry state. She is how she should be, and as for me, I say...
Checker sung, giving a stale, demented smirk.
Checkmate.
She finished, crushing Trixie's piece under her own. Helping Hoof turned and looked out the window of the chariot, a tear running down his cheek, guilt clearing his eyes as the impact of what had just happened hit him in full. He could only think of one thing, one thought run through his mind.
What have I done?